We're going to go live in just a few seconds. Gentlemen, we are live at the Anchor Bar, the brand new location on Transit Road in Williamsville. They moved down from the location across the street from the Eastern Hills Mall to a brand new location down towards Russell's and the old, what was this place before at one time? It was a Cracker Barrel.
Bob Evans, I think.
Yeah. People were having Bob Evans just 2 weeks ago here. Now they're having Buffalo Wings. But Frank Wolf from the 300level.com. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. Mike Munn is going to take over, and he's going to run the podcast today. He's got Tony Fiorello, Nads. Last name will remain nameless, I guess. And, Matt Gordon is back in town. And Aiden Cummings is the new face of 300 Level podcast this week. So they're going to talk some NCAA basketball, Buffalo Sabres, Buffalo Bills, Bisons. March Madness, they're going to kick things off with it. God bless them all. Mike Bunt, take it away.
Let's get this started, guys. So I know not many of you guys are as into the UB Bulls as I am and the rest of the Big Four, but
I did watch it.
You did watch it?
I did watch
Congratulations, Nads.
I'm
proud of you.
I was proud of myself.
I'm proud of you, too. So let's get started with this. UB gets to the second round, and they lose to Texas Tech, who's now in the Final Four. It's kind of embarrassing, kind of a blowout, definitely a blowout. And then their coach decides to go straight to Alabama. So things have been kind of wild the last week. What are your thoughts as people that really aren't big UB followers, but what are your thoughts about everything that just took place? Let's get Nads. Nads, you get the first take.
They became good at just the right time because nobody cared about anything else because every other team stinks. So the fact that they were good caused actually some hype to happen, and people actually cared about both the men's and women's, which is good. It's good that people actually cared.
It was a good time. Yeah, a lot of people were going out to watch the games. They put on a show. We expected both teams to win, hopefully the first game that they played, which was fantastic because both of them did it last year, right?
Yeah.
And, it would have been nice to beat Texas Tech, but, you didn't expect it, kind of.
They looked horrible in the end. You know what I mean? They were just getting outplayed.
They probably put too much pressure on themselves.
They were getting outplayed.
Honestly, I picked UB for the Elite Eight, but I never thought they were going to get past Texas Tech, being honest with myself, because I just thought it was a horrible matchup. They're one of the best defensive teams in the country. They hold teams to 59 points. You saw what they did against Michigan. Mm-hmm. They held them to 44 points. They just shut down Gonzaga. I honestly think they might win it all right now. But I think even crazier than the fact that they lost to Texas Tech was the fact that they lost their coach basically 2 or 3 days later, and now everybody during the regular season kept wanting to believe that Nate Oates was going to come back for one more year. But I'll tell you one thing: $2.4 million is 2.4 million reasons to want to leave and go to Alabama. But I know you guys like to follow a lot more professional sports. You never see a coach leave like this in professional sports. Is it weird to you guys seeing this type of situation?
No, not at all. He's got to chase the dream of working for a big program. Sure, it sucks, but that's what you're trying to do. You will need more opportunity. He's going to have more opportunity in the SEC at Bama. He's going to have more resources. That's what everybody wants. You can ask for more, honestly, with what he's getting.
I hate Bama, man.
Yeah, we all hate Bama. They're the Patriots of the NCAA.
All they do is get money, man. It's a money game. Who can get more money, and then you win.
Well, you can't just hate Bama. That's college football.
That's what I'm saying. So
I don't like Bama because they're kind of like the Patriots. They're just good all the time.
You know what the crazy?
Their basketball's not, which is why they brought him in. They've got a very good coach now to help them out and get their program back up and running.
You want to know the crazy thing, though? Nate Oates always said how if he was going to leave, he was going to go to some premier program. It was going to take an amazing offer to leave. Alabama isn't one of those schools. They've never been to a Final Four their entire history. They've only gone to one Elite Eight. It's not like they're some program that's on the up and coming. They've had 3 elite coaches in the last decade plus, and none of them have done anything. They've only made 2 NCAA tournaments the last 13 years. They've had guys that were good coaches, too. They just had Avery Johnson, who was an NBA coach. And I'll be honest, I think Nate Oates will be good at Alabama. But I'm a former Ohio University student who saw they went to the Sweet 16 my junior year when I was at Ohio. Another MAC school, similar situation to UB. They went 29-8. Coach got an offer to go to Illinois. I assumed he was going to be great at Illinois. Got fired in 5 years. So I don't think
Nate
Oates is guaranteed anything at Alabama. Now, the good news for him is he already stole a guy that was going to be UB's top recruit, and Raymond Hawkins. But I'm just going to go through a few quick things, and then we can transition to Bills and Sabres. We talk about the $2.4 million salary. That doesn't even include $50,000 bonuses for a regular season title, a tournament title, making the NCAA tournament the next 2 years. A Final Four win is $50,000. A championship win is another $50,000. He's getting 2 cars, a membership at a country club. He also gets a $5,000 athletic apparel bonus, and he gets 4 round trips to Buffalo and back until his family is moved in Alabama. You add all that money up, like he could be making close to $3 million a year. Like that's insane amount of money. I'm telling you this, like I would go to Alabama for that much money. I would go in a second.
Mm-hmm.
But Tony, you gonna get anything from you, man? Are you gonna speak up today?
Yeah, it's. I mean,
Tony never talks, man.
Tony's
still. I do. I just wait for everybody else to get their takes in, and I just come in with my own. So
get it.
It's. Let's be honest here. It's, like you said, it's not really that surprising that he wanted to make that jump to a bigger program because let's be honest here. That's what coaches usually use the MAC for. They use it as a way to boost their resume and then to go to whether, the SEC or, the Big Ten or, the Pac-12 or somewhere like that. You know what I mean? That's how they do it. And if Nate Oates wants to, further his career, hey, God bless him. He can go right ahead and do that. But
and we're just going to finish up with 2 more things on UB quick, and then we'll get to the Sabres. I think the one thing that hurts UB fans is they really thought that Nate Oates was being serious about turning UB into the Gonzaga of the East. So I don't think I think they thought it was a possibility he could leave, but after the contract extension, I think they really thought he was intent on staying, which I tried to caution some people when it happened. It didn't guarantee anything. Then the last thing I want to say about UB, who they hire right now will ultimately decide their future. I was a big advocate of them hiring their assistant coach, Brian Hodgson, and promoting him because he was responsible for the recruiting classes and a lot of the players on the roster. I thought he could bring some continuity and continue it. It looks like they're not going to go that route. Looks like they're going to try to bring in an outsider. One person that's been named is Rob Lanier, who's a former St. Bonaventure player who is an assistant at Tennessee and coached at Siena in the early 2000s. Would be a good hire. The question is he going to be able to keep the players that are currently on the roster? If UB keeps most of their roster intact, they're going to win 20-plus games next year. They're going to continue to be decent. If they lose half that team, they could win 12 games next year. But that'll be it for UB. Let's transition a little bit to the Sabres because I know we all have a lot of great opinions on the Sabres. Let's just put it the way it is. They've been trashed basically since December. They're awful. They're not going anywhere. Nads, you love to give your crazy, weird takes about them. I'm going to just let you get started with everything today. So take it away.
I was going to say, well, before let's label it correctly. They're not trash. They're a dumpster fire.
Okay.
Yeah, it's exactly what they're supposed to be.
So I went to the game on Thursday against Detroit, and I didn't want to go. My uncle, I go to a few games with him every season. You guys know Uncle Dave. Uncle Dave's a good guy. Shout out Uncle Dave. So if you ever go to a Sabres game and come across Uncle Dave, he will buy you a beer and a bag of peanuts. He's a good guy. At least 2.
On top of that, he's got to win the 50-50 and throw it in your face, too.
So we were only 100 numbers off of the 50-50.
Oh, my God.
So it was like.
Before or after?
What do you mean?
We were 100 under or 100 after?
We were 100 over it. So it was like 8-7 or 7-4-7, and we had 8-4-7 on the last numbers. But oh well. So the best part of the Sabres game was everything other than the Sabres game itself. After they were down 2, everyone was out, and I don't care that they came back and tied it. I had no care in the world to stay there and watch that team anymore. I met some narcotic agents. They stole peanuts out of our bag. My uncle came across a lawyer who sued him. I met the owner of Frizzies. Like, that was more entertaining than going to the Sabres game itself.
This is the one against Detroit, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And the narcotics agent kept touching me on my shoulder, and my uncle told me, you do whatever he wants. If he tells you to bend over, do it.
Good God.
You were one of the strangest people I've ever met.
I don't even know how that happens. Pull this thing away a little bit. I don't know how that happens to you when you go to these games. I just don't talk to anybody next to me. I focused on the crap trash bag dumpster fire that's on the ice.
We met him at the Saber Circle tables, the only four tables that you have to do anything around.
Yes.
And then they started snagging peanuts out of our bag without even asking. And I'm like, okay, who are these guys? They were like, the one guy like ripped his shirt down and showed where he had open heart surgery and the spot where he got stabbed. I'm like, holy crap.
These guys been drinking prior to seeing you at the game?
They spent at least, what was it? He said he spent $450 at Pearl.
What?
They had a whole group of people.
Be real.
Okay.
Let's be real.
Yeah.
If any of us are gonna be hanging out with Nads, we better have a few drinks in us.
Got to.
I don't know if I could do that sober.
Yo,
yeah, exactly.
Let me.
No, but seriously, when it comes to the Sabres, I'll be honest with you. I haven't watched the game from start to finish in months. It's just it's hard to watch them because. Yeah, they had the 10-game winning streak. Then now they're on pace to probably be the worst team of all time with 10-game winning streak in the middle of a season. But they don't have much talent outside of their big three. You got Dahlin, you got Eichel, and then I guess you can put Skinner and Reinhart there. But you really don't have anything besides those four players. And that's what's disappointing. The whole tank was to get these top-end guys, and now you've had 4 years to surround Eichel and Reinhart with talent, and it's still as bad as it ever was before the tank.
It's three things I think that are really, making people angry about this team more than anything. Number one, first of all, it's a lack of talent, and second, because like you said, the tank years really started around 2013-ish, around there.
Yes, please.
Then they're supposed to build up more talent than that, and they've just stalled, they've just kept getting worse and worse and worse. Number two, they have a trash coach. We all know that. I get that Housley doesn't have much to work with.
Yeah, do we know that?
Do we know that?
It's you guys know it's pretty much a given. Yes,
Well,
it's
actually,
pretty much.
that actually is a good point. He probably is a bad coach, but we thought that Dan Bilesma was a bad coach, and in hindsight, he wasn't.
And also in hindsight is the fact that most Buffalo people wanted to see Phil Housley as the coach of the Sabres after they canned
So
Bilesma.
what does that tell you? Maybe we as Buffalo sports fans don't know.
Well,
let me tell
you what was clear. So at the game, two things were so blatantly clear. Marco Scandella sucks, and the line of Larson, Gergensons, and
whoever the hell.
It's Larson, Gergensons, and who else?
Right.
Whoever else.
It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
It changes every game.
It's not Saboka.
Or Saboka, wherever it is. They are so slow. They are so lazy. They don't deserve a place on this roster.
The problem with the Sabres is they have people playing in positions they shouldn't be in. Like you say, Scandella sucks. In the position he's in, yes, he looks terrible, but that's not where he should be. He shouldn't be seeing those minutes. Scandella should be on your power play and probably your fifth or sixth or seventh defenseman.
Yeah, isn't that?
That's where he should be.
That's where he is. That's where he is.
Your top two defensive pairings.
That's where.
And that's a good point. That's a good point because let's be real. When I shouldn't say we, I have nothing to do with the Sabres, thank God. But when the Sabres traded for Scandella, that was considered a good get for them at the time. So and I think that's the issue. A lot of these guys they've brought in, we've gotten excited about. We were excited about Evander Kane. We were excited about Ryan O'Reilly.
I'm sorry, man. When you are watching the game and you see him stand there and watch people skate right around him and score, that's disgusting.
Scandella?
Yeah. He just stands there.
His are
The
5
sad-
or 6
The
number
sad thing about
defensemen.
Scandella was he actually played decent last year. You brought even on about a bad team. He was actually a decent. It's like what happened with Josh Shorters. You brought him in, and he was a decent player for 1 year, and then he just dropped off a cliff.
Scandella.
Yeah.
On the Buffalo Sabres. Get out of here with that. Give me some speed. Give me some
No, but-
finesse. Give me some
You're talking
passing.
about-
Give me some offense.
Guys, let's
a fan base that was excited about Billy Lane.
No. Oh,
No,
sorry.
no,
that was a
no,
little loud.
no.
No,
Do you have anything else?
everybody was excited about Billy Leno.
When Robert Regier was signed and Billy Lane was signed,
Ehrhoff too. Yep.
people were excited.
Ehrhoff was
Quality
okay.
Free agents, we thought. We just have a terrible scouting department. We've had a garbage scouting department. If you ask me, that's where it comes from.
I would agree with that.
Look and see how these players interact with their own teammates before you bring them to Buffalo. If they're on the outs with them, if they're not, Evander Kane. This guy was on an island on every team he's ever been in. What in God's name did they think was going to be a good fit in Buffalo for Evander Kane? The team that's tanking, that's losing, that does not have the right mindset. Let's bring in a shallow player. He is a shallow player.
I think they saw speed and passing and scoring.
And he did.
Yeah, he did.
This is where I'm going to say something that you guys are all going to laugh at me and make fun of me.
Matt's already doing it.
Because it all started when we fired Ruff and got rid of Regier. The truth is, we always, towards the end of their tenure, we like to give them crap that they were falling from the playoff level to barely squeaking in. But somehow, that combination led the Sabres to 4 Eastern Conference Finals and a Stanley Cup Finals in a period of 14 years. And now we're in a period of 8 years where we can't even make the playoffs. Like, let's be real. Regier and Lindy Ruff were a duo on this team when they couldn't even spend $30 million a year in cap money. Mm-hmm. They only had their success. Well, granted, Dominic Hasek in the beginning, but because they scouted, they drafted well, they built the team. They got guys like Danny Briere for Chris Gratton for crying out loud. They did things the right way, and then suddenly we always dreamed, what would it be like to have a billionaire owner with unlimited resources who could just get free agent here, free agent anywhere? And right now we're seeing what happens when you go from being a smart team that makes practical decisions to a team that thinks you can fill each hole with some random team's garbage. Like, no offense, like I'm not saying Ryan O'Reilly or Evander Kane are garbage, but they're good. They're
playing good.
They're good players, but they were players that the teams that they were on didn't want them for certain reasons. And then we just assume, well, we'll bring them here and it'll be a different fit and things are going to work out. Well, here's the problem. Why is it suddenly going to work out? Our culture hasn't done anything right. So why is a person that's in a bad culture suddenly going to be more successful in another bad culture?
Culture is the final 10%. The first 90% is talent.
Right.
Like, when we get to a place where we have such a plethora of talent where we can exile core locker room guys, we're in a good place.
I like that
Evander
word.
Kane, are you kidding me? We had speed any day. Any day.
Do you know what's sad? What was sad was the best player, the best player at the
game. They can't hear us because our mics are a little.
The rest of the pieces.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they can't hear us.
I disagree with
They don't realize I'm disagreeing.
No.
All those things that we just gave them credit for, Jason Botterill is replenishing that depth. Jason Botterill is accumulating those draft picks to fortify minors.
I like Jason Botterill. Like, I'm not going to lie. What my biggest issue is that we're looking at the Sabres right now. Okay, this year's been awful. We're not going to lie. But my thing is, I actually think Botterill's doing things the right way in that because we're all frustrated that we're on whatever year we are of this playoff drought, that we're being too harsh on him. I'm seeing people that are killing the Pagulas for the way they run these teams. I think in the beginning of the Pagula tenure with the Sabres, they made mistakes trying to go for home runs and everything. But I honestly think what they're doing to the Sabres and Bills in the last 2 years is the right way of going about things. I think the problem with the Sabres is they don't have the right coach in charge, and there's a lack of talent. But honestly,
see, you're missing so much. Here's the point.
Or he said the two main issues: coach, talent. We have no talent.
Here's what doesn't make sense. At that game on Thursday, you know who was hands down the best player? Victor Olofsson. Why is he getting called up now? Why?
But here's why. Winning attitude.
Why?
Okay,
they had to get a winning attitude. That's why.
But there's guys come up with that kind of talent. Guys with that speed. Justin Bailey, where is he?
Philadelphia.
No, Victor Olofsson was something different, though.
From Rochester, you have to take that very first shift and play your butt off.
Yeah, exactly.
He did.
Olofsson is doing it, but where is he going to be 3 weeks from now?
If he's playing for the
effort from these
if
guys,
he's still here in 3 weeks,
I see effort.
The same poise,
I see effort and care.
The same effort, then I'll be on your team. But I'm not going to agree with you.
And I don't want to be.
You see a body of work. You get excited over one guy who shows up one day and looks great. Let's see you in 2 weeks.
Yeah, and honestly,
10 games, travel coast to coast. Let's see how good you are.
And Frank's spot on it. I don't mean this to talk down to anybody
No,
here.
talk down to Okposo. He's a piece of garbage.
but here's
he's overpaid and garbage.
As Buffalo,
someone to take Okposo.
Okay.
That's how you repair your team.
But if Vegas was garbage, they would have taken him.
Nobody's going to take Okposo, so just don't get that fantasy in your head. Here's the problem, and I'm just going to be straight up with you guys. Frank is spot on with everything he just said. We fall in love with these players after 1 or 2 games. But you have to realize in professional sports, it's not as easy as just bringing a guy up. The reason why they talk about culture is a locker room does not accept a random player, 22 years old, instantly getting a spot. You have to work for your minutes. And I know that as a fan, it's frustrating to see that, but that's just the way it works. I've covered pro sports. If you give a guy like Olofsson a 7th-round pick, an instant top 2 line, it's going to create horrible issues in the locker room. I know talent ends up being better than all that, but I've covered these teams. There's issues that you don't see as fans that are present every day, and there's reasons why coaches and GMs make their decisions. And a lot of times it could be as simple as maybe Broderill knows that it's a cluster blank in Buffalo, and he doesn't want Olofsson to be any part of it. He might want him to avoid it, continue focusing on development, because they're not focused on just winning and losing every single game. They're focused on, okay, this is our long-term vision, and we need this to work out. We're not thinking the same way they're thinking, and that's what a lot of the issues come with that. And Frank, like I said, is spot on. And it's frustrating.
That's okay. If you want to take that approach, that's okay. Level with your fan base. This is a multi-year thing. This isn't going to be fast. Our rookies are going to stay down there, and they're going to season. They're going to be like that. So when people are asking questions about Olofsson, just address it.
That's our exact approach that we took before.
I'm
cool with that.
I think it was Revere who said years ago, maybe right after the end of the season, there was going to be some suffering. He got murdered for that.
And the problem,
he was
by
being
the
honest.
people that expected us to win now.
Did you guys hear what Leonard said recently?
That statement he made, and I think that that kind of
he said, "I don't care about Buffalo anymore. Stop asking me about it."
Someone's mind, like, can I say this and not get murdered?
We know what we're seeing.
But that's the problem though. Buffalo's okay. I love Buffalo sports fans. We're passionate. We love our teams. But that is also our biggest weakness, is that we're so passionate. We get too excited too early about certain people, and then we also get too angry too early about people. Remember guys like Grigorenko? Like we were making a guy like Grigorenko turn out to be a star. The guy was a nobody.
Griggs was supposed to be a top 5 pick, and he just slid back because we couldn't question him a little bit.
This is the problem with being Buffalo sports fans. We're so desperate to see something that we draw these conclusions way too prematurely. You cannot. Look at Casey Middlestat. He's going to be a good player one day, but let's be real. Is he a solid NHL player right now? No, he's not even close to being a solid NHL player.
Well, Botterill messed up there.
It's just
but he didn't mess up. The issue is we rush everything because we want to see these guys play, and then we put the pressure on our GM. We put the pressure on our coach to play these guys. And you know what? Here's the thing. There's a reason why, and there's additional reasons why certain players aren't up with the club that you wouldn't even know about. Practice plays a bigger role than you would ever think. Half the time, some of these guys that might show a flash or two in a game during practice, they might be the worst player out on the ice. Are you going to is a coach going to throw somebody out there that is getting lit up every day just because a fan says, oh, this guy's the 7th overall pick and he's ready to be in the league? No offense. We don't know.
What is the benefit to Marco Scandelli? Explain that to me.
The benefit is you're going to finish the season and you have no other choice. What are you going to do? What do they always say in football? They always say you don't put a quarterback in a situation where he's not ready. Like the David Carr situation. David Carr was a prize prospect, number 1 overall pick, goes to the Texans, gets sacked 70 times in 1 year. Career ends before it ever starts. If your career gets out to a horrible start and you don't have the mental toughness, your career can end before it even gets started. No, I know.
Professional athlete.
You don't know it, but these people,
you're a professional athlete.
But not many have the mental toughness.
Should not be a
Can I be snarky?
No.
Yes, I'm being snarky.
Well, they can't hear you.
Confidence at the pro level.
I agree with that.
NHL, and I think that to his point, Scandella should be better. We were expecting him to be a lot better.
No, Scandella is what we know he is.
No, he was a lot better.
Fine.
He was touted as a top 4 defenseman.
Can I tell you the one benefit? Here's the benefit to Scandella. He has more goals than Ristolainen, Saboka, Gergensons, McCabe, Bogosian, and I guess Pilot you could also throw in there, and Casey Nelson. How sad is that?
I'll say this. Do you guys think Rasmus Ristolainen is good? Because no offense, he has a minus 40 plus minus.
He's a
minus 100 something in his group. But yes, that is an overrated stat.
Don't care about the plus minus. I'm going to bring it up.
It's a team stat.
I'll just say this. Analytically, Rasmus Ristolainen is one of the worst defensemen in the league over the past couple of years. But he's a physical guy. He shows potential. That's why we still play him. If you wanted to judge Rasmus Ristolainen based on what he actually does on the ice, he could be the worst Sabres defenseman.
He's extremely.
No offense. I don't like this whole.
Would any of you guys have taken Theo Fleury?
Who?
Theo Fleury?
Theo Fleury?
Oh, back in the day, yeah, he was great.
Go look at his plus minus, and you're going to throw that stat right out.
Yeah, I don't care about plus minus.
Like a minus 35.
Yeah, it doesn't matter about
to be honest
plus
with you,
minus.
Theo Fleury should be in the Hall of Fame.
So it's like, it could work to your benefit. I'm not an analytics guy, but I think you need to have it. I think you have to have someone cautioning you about when a certain player should be on the ice, when he shouldn't, limiting a certain guy.
Bristow's been our.
Scandella should be playing 12 to 13 minutes if he's on this team, and he is. If you have to use him, he should be in the 12 to 13-minute mark playing on your third-line pair and only out there for the power play.
I was going to say, Bristow's been our top D-man since he started, since he was drafted,
Pretty much.
That's all the tank years. So, I mean, yes, I expect him to be a minus 200, just like the Sabres are probably a minus 1,000 for goal differential over those same time frame.
I just wish Ristolainen was tougher.
He is
tougher. He hits people.
He takes on Ovechkin every time Ovechkin plays.
Exactly.
I give that man respect.
Okay, but I need him to do that against Montreal. I need him to do that against Ottawa. I need him to
apparently
do that against Florida.
And he's just not consistent enough.
Well, apparently we don't want him to do that.
Some nights he looks good, and other nights he's just trash.
Every 4 games doesn't cut it. You have to do it for 82 games. And Ristolainen, and when I say tough enough, that's what I'm talking about.
Big
for an
mentally,
82-game season. I don't want to see you hit somebody one game. Toronto, everyone's watching you. You need to do that against those teams that are fighting for playoffs, that are outside the playoff. Right? Against the Sabres. Who lays down for us? Nobody. We lay down for everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, we can make Robin Lehner, who was – say what you want about him. He wasn't really that good.
About him right now.
But seriously, we
give that man respect, man.
And third-string goaltenders look like the second coming of Dominic Hasek. And one of the reasons why Ruff and Rigger might have been so good is because they had a guy like Hasek between the pipes.
And
goaltending
Miller
is everything. We're building from Eichel, from center down. You really, in the NHL, I think you should be building from the goaltender.
See, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that at all.
No.
I think
some teams you can, but it's
you build from.
Well, New Jersey built it around Brodeur. Yes. I said New Jersey, yes, they built it around Brodeur. They didn't let anybody score. They said, nope, you can get one, but we're going to get 2.
Who cares, though?
And then they supplemented Brodeur.
Deep down, Toronto is the one example of goaltending is the only thing that might hold them back from a cup.
Yes.
But they're still a dominating team.
What teams are led by just goaltending?
I don't care about what happened
Corey
back
Price.
10 years ago.
Why not?
Who cares about 10 years ago?
It's happening to Toronto right now.
No, see,
Sure it is.
guys, goaltending is totally different than what it was in the 90s.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Why was Leonard bad in Buffalo? He had no defenseman playing in front of him.
He was drinking and high.
Let's not. Okay,
well,
he had
outside of that, let's be real.
Okay. He wasn't good in Buffalo because he didn't have the players playing in front of him. You go to New York, suddenly he has better players in front of him. There's a goalies that put up great numbers in Detroit all the time because Detroit had guys that never allowed shots on goal. You're a product of your situation when you're a goalie. There's the difference between a 920 save percentage and a 910 save percentage is one stop every 100 shots. Let's be real. Like that's not the difference. The difference is the people in front of you.
You had mentioned earlier Billsborough was coaching to his team's abilities, and maybe they're a little bit too defensive, but he was playing with what he knew he had. A good core, strong defense, and decent goaltending.
Well, that's a different thing. You coaching to your talent, that's knowing what you have and doing what you need to be successful. He knew that they didn't have the top end talent to play an aggressive style, so he played extremely conservatively, which annoyed all of us as fans. And then we forced them out. So then we get a coach that we thought was going to play aggressively, and then that exposes all the weaknesses that we have on the blue line because obviously we didn't have the talent that we thought we did have. So that's the problem. If you had a better coach on the Sabres, I think they could be an 80-point team. I fully believe this.
80 points.
80 points is still missing the playoffs.
I'm not saying 80 points is good. What I'm saying is,
that's why we're here.
No, but what I'm okay. You can't just go
we're here to win the game.
You can't. Okay, but you
got it.
Okay, so this is the problem in the thinking that you're just saying.
All right, wait.
You can't just go from being awful to being a Stanley Cup championship team. It takes baby steps. It takes time. The Chicago No, they were awful for many years, and they picked up a ton of draft.
No, you're full of crap there, buddy.
They're on the same timeline as us.
Toronto is
adding free agents that are coming through. The Sabres free agents we have gotten have been not living up to expectations. Toronto's are, but at the same time, they took a long time to get here. Look at the Oilers.
They have as many.
Well, they're all on the same timeline as us.
Let me ask a question. You can either say yes or no, and then we'll just see what happens.
No.
Ready?
Next topic.
Do you fire Housley in 2 weeks?
Yes.
Why wait? Oh, okay. Yeah, never mind. Sorry.
At this point, you have to fire him.
You've got to. Nobody's playing for him.
I'm saying no.
I have no.
Justify it.
So I want to see one more season, and then I will allow him.
Whole season?
No. I will allow him to get fired in the first, say, 20 games if it's another tire fire.
Well, what if there's not a better?
I'm going to give him.
So what
15 to 20 games next.
What if there's not a better coach? What if there's not a better coach out there?
You just waste next season then?
Yeah, basically you're wasting the first 20 games.
It'd be wasted anyways.
I've seen teams fire coaches in the middle of the season and make.
Well, yes, we've seen it. It's rare, but
we've seen Philadelphia.
How many coaches can you
hire?
fire?
Peter Laviolette, and
how
then
many
just coaches
go to the
can
you fire?
Pittsburgh won a Stanley Cup after firing their coach in 20 games.
February,
but that's different. Those teams had talent.
Did the Bruins fire their coach mid-season?
They got there, yeah.
The difference is those were teams that came into the year with expectations that weren't living up to them.
Exactly.
Then they fire their coach, and then they meet the expectations. The Sabres are going to enter next year expecting to get 75 points again, and if they fire a coach 20 games in, they're going to just quit on the next coach, and they're going to get 75 points again.
If
Joel Quenneville
is out there,
they should be getting him tomorrow.
He contacts the Sabres and says, "I'm interested in your job."
Obviously, you hire him.
Sorry?
Obviously, you hire him.
Got to.
Then that's the
That's
only
different
person I hire.
Yeah, exactly.
Right now.
Or bring up the Amerks guy. I have no problem with the Amerks guy.
Here's the problem with Quenneville. I mean, at his age, he's probably going to be looking to want to win a Stanley Cup again right now.
Good. So am I.
Yeah, but he's so. Why would he want to
walk
come
in there
to
and
this
tell
situation, this tire fire?
Do what
because
I want.
He can fix the tire fire.
Do
just
what
like
I
he
want.
fixed in Chicago, hopefully.
I just don't think they're smart enough. And I'm not talking
the front office. You mean?
I'm not talking that shit.
Pagula?
In the brass, exactly.
Pagula's got nothing to do.
Sure, Pagula.
You
You don't think Pagula has nothing to do with this?
Samson tested very high. That's right.
Yes.
Samson.
You guys might be behind Eichel.
Reinhardt.
He was the first. He's your first.
I'll tell you this. I don't know if I told you guys this during the previous couple podcasts, but Eichel's having a good year stats-wise. And this is ECHL, so take it with a grain of salt, but I've talked to coaches. No, you can laugh, but ECHL players are still people that played juniors. They still played college. They were all good players, and I know the coach at this team, he has NHL connections. He said 2 years into Eichel that he thought the guy was extremely overrated. And there's a lot of players that he knows.
Overrated?
Yeah, there's a lot. He said no. What I'm saying is the talk around that from the talk that he knew across the NHL, Eichel did not have a good reputation.
How many Sabres games were lost this year in overtime with Eichel on the ice where he just didn't pick up a man?
Are we blaming?
I'm not blaming Eichel. I'm not blaming Eichel.
Are you listening to this crap?
No.
I'm
okay,
listening.
so I'm talking.
We're just saying he should not be immune to criticism. That's the thing.
Let's be real.
No,
I agree with that.
No, nobody's.
Even Darlene too.
I'm talking about professional.
Okay. At 18. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, come on.
Here's the thing. This is the problem with the Sabres. Another problem with Sabres. We don't want to criticize. Well, some people do want to criticize Eichel, so I don't want to say we don't want to. The Sabres' problems are so deep. We try to pretend that we can fix the Sabres' issues with just a couple fixes. No, they are a mess. It's not getting better just next year with some free agent moves. They are going to be very bad next year too. The problem is we bought into that the tank was going to be a 3-year fix, and the truth is we're on the same path as Edmonton. We looked at Edmonton and we were saying, how could they be so bad with all those number one picks? We are in a worse situation than what the Edmonton Oilers were, and it's not going to get better unless we're patient. The Sabres are not taking the quick fix anymore. They're now in the process of this is going to take years to get better.
And that's what right
now. We're patient.
Yeah,
we didn't expect this.
You know who was not patient? Who screwed this up even more? Tim Murray. Tim Murray completely.
We can't even put
decimated
all
the
of this
depth
on
his
Tim
franchise.
Murray. Like, come
No,
on now.
but he was.
I want to.
Yeah, he
took
took some
swings,
swings
yes.
at a lot. Some
got
worked
Roar.
out, some didn't.
He got Roar. Roar is a very good player. He's a top-notch player. Yes, I would be angry too if I spent 8 of my first years on terrible teams. But to think, I don't know where you guys were at the beginning of the season. I know where I was. I knew this team was going to be exactly how they are now. There was no reason to believe that they were going to be any good. Stop watching TV, Nads. I swear to God.
What the hell is this?
It's Adam Sandler's fucking
Whoa.
Wrinkle in Time or whatever the heck it is.
Have some respect for the
Come on now.
viewers, Gordon.
I'm going on my first rant the entire day.
I saw this.
And you want to be like, oh, look at Adam Sandler. Look at with his big googly eyes hamster.
No, I saw the guy from the Jackass show.
Nats,
what's
have
his name?
some respect.
God.
I need Matt to finish this.
Train of thought now.
Anyways.
So anyway, there was no reason for anybody to believe that the Sabres are going to be good this year. They have a top line, right? They have a top line. Dahlin was never going to be the number 2 guy, the top 2 guy defenseman that we needed. He was going to be top 4, right? We're going to bring him along. I love that we have the same excuses for Leonard and Scandella and Risto. Oh, we have terrible teams in front of them. This team is still bad. There is no reason to think that Eichel can carry this team, just like Crosby did not carry the team. He needed Malkin.
They're bad, but they shouldn't be
They needed
this
Fleury.
bad.
They should be this bad.
No, because here's the truth. They okay. Let's just
tell me why they shouldn't be this bad.
Okay, because if you look at it from a numbers point of view, when Bilesmo was the head coach, they averaged about 80 points a year. The one year I think they had 81. I think the next year they had 77. Okay. Then last year they went down to 62. So in the offseason, you get rid of Ryan O'Reilly. But you add in
that's a downgrade.
You add in close to a 40-goal scorer in Jeff Skinner.
Whoa, he was not a 40-goal scorer until he played with Eichel.
I'm talking this year. Talking this year. He has 37. Then you add Connor Sherry, who is not. I know he's not a star, but he's a solid player with
that
speed.
was a swing and a miss
touch.
right there.
He was playing with Crosby and Malkin.
Let me finish quick. And then you get the number 1 overall pick in Dahlin,
who's a defenseman.
The point I'm making though is the Sabres, you could argue, never should have been the low 60s that they were the first year under Housley. They should have been a 70-plus point team that year. And then you make some additions that they made. It's totally reasonable to think that entering this year, they should have been an 80 to 85 point team.
Why? With what? Give me a name
because
of why.
That's what they were before last season with the same amount of talent.
They had Kane and O'Reilly.
And Skinner,
those are damn good players.
Skinner is a better player than either of them.
And he's one guy.
And
he's playing with just Eichel.
You also
added you replaced Kane and O'Reilly with Skinner and Pominville. But that's basically what you did.
Do you realize where the Sabres ranked in scoring when they had Kane and O'Reilly? They were awful. They've actually got them.
I'm not saying they were better than they weren't better back then than they are now. They're even keel, I view it.
If you looked at where they were in the standings and where they were point-wise, the Sabres should have been an 80-point team when they got 60 points. That was a team. You know why they went down? Because they changed the entire system, and they decided to play a style of hockey that didn't fit any of the players on the team. Ultimately, that falls on coaching. They had a coach that actually knew what talent they had and used it properly, and then we ran him out of town to hire a coach that didn't know how to use his talent, and then we're going to do it with all of our players because that's what we do in Buffalo. We overreact to everything. Our fan base is rabid, but we don't know one thing about what we're talking about. And then we force these decisions upon an owner that cares too much about fan opinion, and then we just blow everything up. That's all we do. We blow everything up before it has a chance to work, and then we do the next project, and then that project we blow up because we want instant results and we have no patience. Sports doesn't work that way.
I got this.
Honestly,
do you think Zach Bogosian should be being paid $5 million a year?
That's a separate topic. I don't want to deal with this right now.
I'm just saying.
I'm talking about
you're
talent.
I'm
talking talent. Our top cap hits are the garbage talent.
Well, yes, they had those contracts prior to when we traded for him.
Jack is the only
they gave him to us.
No, Nats, those are dumb questions though, because those are already in place. Honestly,
I'm saying we don't have the talent.
So what do you do?
Well, you have to be patient, and you have to accept that you're not going to just make this dramatic jump in 1 year. Why do you think the Bills did everything they did last year? And we'll get to the Bills later. They took on all that dead cap because they realized it's better to suck this year and get these players and money off our books so we can open up the salary cap for future years so we can actually bring in talent than it is to try to go 8-8 this year. The problem is the Sabres tried something similar for a little bit, and they thought, oh, we're going to tank. We're going to have all this low-end talent. But then when the tank was over, they made bad move after bad move after bad move because we thought those bad moves were going to get them to where we wanted them quicker. And the problem is because they made those bad moves, now they have to pay for those bad moves and they have to find a way to fix it. And the only way to fix it is getting rid of those players. But who's going to want Oposo at over $6 million?
We can't.
Who's going to want Bogosian at $5 million? They're stuck with them.
But I could pay a team a first-round pick to take Kyle Oposo.
But then you're not building through the draft. What did Darcy Regier
to get rid of Kyle Oposo?
But the problem is
6 more years.
That's the problem with this whole situation. You literally just answered my question though. That is why the Sabres are in an awful situation because the Sabres have literally basically admitted to you that the way that they need to build now is by drafting well and surrounding their stars with young talent. And you're basically saying, because of our veterans, you would give one away for a first-round pick. Absolutely. That's the dilemma. You either have no cap, you either don't have the cap room because you're paying these overpriced players a horrible amount, or you give up the future with young players.
We can clear our cap out and get some bona fide, absolute NHL talent.
It's not that simple. They did add bona fide NHL talent, and then there's just as bad.
Are you ready?
It's not.
Here's how you build through the draft. Darcy Regier's final draft in 2013, he drafted 7 players that have played in the NHL. Since then, 8 Sabres draft picks have played in the NHL since 2013.
Yeah.
So how do you build through the draft?
No, I know the draft isn't a guarantee, but the thing is, building through free agency isn't a guarantee. Building through trades isn't a guarantee.
Neither is a guarantee, but
here's the thing: you got to
team building through the draft is not a guarantee.
I know it's not a guarantee, but here's
not even good players.
They need to show you that if they continue down this route, they'll be able to do it.
I was going to say, how are you fixing this team? Because right now, I think you think there's talent on this team.
No, I don't.
Oh, okay,
I think it's Eichel. I think it's
the top line.
Reinhart, Skinner, and then I think you have Dahlin. What I'm telling you guys
how are we
is,
fixing this?
No, see, that's the problem. There is no quick fix. That's what I'm trying to tell you guys.
I don't need a quick fix. There's how are we fixing this?
No, that's the issue. There's a lot of different ways to go about it. What I'm saying is,
how can
you guys keep saying you're angry with all of this failure. What I'm saying,
no, there's no anger here. This is expected. I expected 75 points.
Okay,
you're not happy.
OT or a shootout.
I am.
That was not sustainable success.
What's the word? Am I melancholy? Is that the word?
But you have malaise.
We'll put it like this though: if this is expected, well then you might as well keep Housley, because if you realize it's going to stay this way for another couple years, then don't rush it. Because what is Joel Quenneville going to do?
Joel Quenneville is possibly going to put his players in a better situation to win and have the correct players here. I understand Middlestat, this is his first big year. Yes, he was not expected to be the second line center. So why not move him to the third line and have Gergs up there, who's been in the league for 7 years? No, he doesn't have the same talent. But are they similar in points? Middlestat's only got 20-something points anyway this year.
I think Gergs
what is he, 19, 20 years old? Here's the thing.
I mean, that's an excuse.
There's only 2 coaches in the entire NHL that I believe if you put them on a bad team, that bad team would be good within a couple years. And that's Mike Babcock and then Barry Trotz. Oh. And outside of those 2, I don't think coaching really is going to make you that much better, because I've talked to.
Did I nail it? I did. Yeah. There's a 6-point difference between the 2 of those.
I've talked to players. I've talked to coaches on the pro level. 99% of the coaches in the NHL run the same stuff.
Are fake.
I've
said that. I was like, there's only X amount of systems you can run playing hockey.
Hockey is limited.
Yeah.
You can't really.
Come on now.
So you really can't change things up. The way you change things up is by your management, how you decide to bring players in, whether it's a draft first strategy, whether it's a combination of draft and trades or free agency. So really, the main question is, and then the coach has to find out how to utilize what he has in front of him the best way possible. So we all agree right now that Housley isn't utilizing his talent properly, but we also agree that we don't have the talent for him. So how do you get better? Well, you have to find a way to suddenly bring in some players that you can that do have the talent and have a coach that knows how to utilize them the right way. Our guesses are as good as theirs. Nobody knows what the answer is. This could happen. They could suck the next 5 years. Or if they find the right coach and they find the right combination of players, maybe they could be good next year, maybe the year after. Who knows? But I
think they overestimated Casey Middlestat this year. That's one of the reasons why they were so quick to move Ryan O'Reilly.
Exactly, because they expected him to fill that hole.
They also, I think go ahead. I'll let you finish.
Well, I think a lot of us thought he was going to be. I don't want to say lights out, but I think
I was expecting 30 to 40. Right. I was not expecting that from a rookie who couldn't do a pull-up.
Well, on the second line,
I've got a rookie that can't do a pull-up.
Day one, game one.
It's pretty sad, though.
You've got Fury and all these other guys. Maybe Okaposo's finally healthy and back. Don't forget, he was off the ice for a while, too.
I don't blame him.
Situation. Yeah. So maybe Okaposo gets it back a little bit. Maybe a few other guys work into the equation. He can walk away with 50, 55 points. It wasn't.
That was going to be a perfect season with him to get 50 points.
Dahlin feed them the puck.
You would think so, yes. Well, we've seen it on the power play a couple of times where we have the Eichel, the Reinhardt, the Skinner, the Dahlin, the Middlestad, floating around, something like that. I just don't think, for some reason, Housley's not putting his players in the best position to succeed. Yes, and we don't have the best players for us to succeed right now for some reason. I understand leaving Olofsson down there to accumulate and get accustomed to. Yeah, there you go, to the AHL and the North American game. Yes, I understand that. Yes, he's leading the Amerks in points. I don't need to see him, the first 40 games, but after the streaks of us sucking terribly and us needing a spark to possibly still make a push for the playoffs, I don't understand why Housley continues to play garbage people.
Sobotka,
yes, we all know Sobotka. We don't have to bring it up. We all know who we're talking about when we say garbage people on this team. I can't understand why he wouldn't want to bring a couple of the young guys in for a spark. I understand there's salary cap reasons. I understand there's numbers for players on a team and all that good stuff. I understand all that.
How do you wake up every morning knowing you're such trash?
Anyway,
let
me make 2 points.
I have Additone.
The thing with
don't talk to me. Talk to the camera.
I'm just talking to everybody here. Anyway, the perfect scenario for Middlestad would have been if you kept O'Reilly and had him as your third center. Look what happened when we had Chris Drury and Danny Briere. Who was our third line center back then? Derek Roy. And we know Derek Roy wasn't a great player, but as a third line center, he was phenomenal.
That's what I'm saying. You got to put your players in the right spot to succeed.
Nope,
I don't even want to hear you anymore. I've got this.
Botterill made the excuse that he was getting rid of him in order to get rid of his cap number. I can't buy that because if
get rid of who for his cap number?
O'Reilly.
No, we all know it wasn't.
No, he was saying it because he quote unquote lost his love for the game. His only crime about saying that was that he was the only person who admitted that. Everybody else in that locker room did that. If you're playing on a crap team, it's going to feel like you're just going to work.
Well, you know what I think happened?
They've all stopped right now. Let's be real.
1 second, Bucky. And the other thing is,
love it. Tony's taking over. He's got this.
If Middlestad or if he went to Rochester and played well there, that would have been good too. My second point that I also want to make too, you know who's producing well right now in Rochester since he's been sent down? Tage Thompson. He should have started this year in Rochester, and it's just so
should he have started there? I mean, he had a very good fall. I was about to say spring.
The first month that Tage Thompson was up here, he showed flashes the first month or two, and then he just fell off a cliff.
I was gonna say I went to the Harbor Center to watch the spring games.
Yeah,
fall
games. I was at the.
He did pretty well.
I was at the prospect.
The prospect tournament
back in June. Yeah. You and I were both there, and he played very well, and so did Middlestad. And you knew that at that time their minutes on the ice had to be sheltered.
Yes, exactly.
Their minutes had to be sheltered, number one. Or if you wanted to give them a lot of minutes, put them in Rochester. Don't put them go give them huge minutes up here. Yep. And unfortunately, Housley has no idea how to properly use his players. And if you have a coach who can do that, bring him in.
Well, we also didn't have
whether it's Quinville, whether it's Alain Vigneault, go ahead and do it.
We also didn't have the correct players here. Like, yes, we're a young team and we want to be a young team, but we don't have the veteran presence to. Unless we wanted to see Gergs, Larson, they could have been our third line, but they obviously don't have the talent to do that.
And the only way this O'Reilly trade is going to be saved is how those first round picks turned out. One of them has already been used on Brandon Montour. What's the other one going to be used on? And how is Tage Thompson going to eventually?
We can talk about.
Going to be drafted, and then they're going to sit in the AHL for the next 4 years, and we'll never see him.
2 years. We can talk about that.
It all depends.
There's nothing wrong with Rochester,
because we know Sobotka. He was never brought in to score goals. He was brought to be a defensive presence, and he's failed at that.
And win faceoffs, he succeeded at that.
Berglund could have done that.
That's all he does.
Berglund could have done that, but he quit.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Why would you want to play on this team? Let's
Yeah,
be
I
real.
quit if I was
I
Berglund,
mean, come on
too.
now. He's 30-something years old. Like,
He went,
why would
this
you want
is
to come? Yeah.
garbage.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, I've talked to some people down in St. Louis, and even Derek Kimball, who follows us on Twitter, believe it or not, former Blue. He said this guy was a quitter. He's just a
And St.
floater.
Louis as well, really?
Not Savoca, Berglund. He said
Berglund.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
He's a floater, this, that, and the other. He's not a great locker room guy. Other podcasts in St. Louis that I've listened to said the same thing. That I don't know what they think they're doing up in Buffalo, but thank you very much for Ryan O'Reilly. We appreciate it. I mean,
we got a first-round pick and Tage Thompson. They forced Berglund and Savoca on us.
Yeah, but when I watched Berglund when he was in St. Louis, the one guy who he reminded me of, and this is a blast from the past for you guys, Curtis Brown. He wasn't a big-time scorer.
Third-line center who
could play wing. He could play center.
Who? What do you mean who? Are you being
Maybe
for
who?
reals? You being for reals?
I'm trying to talk
Okay, I was about to say, yeah.
Are we still talking about Patrick Bergman?
I don't know.
I don't know. But my point is that if he stayed and if he
my
actually
God.
played well and was at that level,
That's next level stuff
it
right
could have
there.
worked. But it hasn't.
I want to talk about the Montour trade and how we've been talking about these Ducks defensemen and trading for them for 5 years now, it feels like. And we got one finally.
The rumor.
And they make it like it's this big deal. Like, oh, we finally got this dude. And like, no, we've had this trade scheduled out for you guys. So you guys didn't have to think about it. Just had to make the move.
And the fact that we're talking about all this just shows that everything is a mess.
It is all a mess.
It is.
So
I'm almost done.
Let's just stop talking about the Sabres right now.
Almost done.
I'm getting angry right now, and I really don't want to get
Yeah.
angry.
Right.
So,
I need more beer.
So, we cannot have Mike get angry.
Yes,
Do not get
we
Mike
need
get angry.
Yeah,
we need more beer for this.
I need another beer, and I need to get some food soon. So what we're going to do, and Frank's going to take over this in a little bit, we're going to take a break, and then when we come back, I'm going to have some positive.
Sorry, people who didn't want breaks. We need beer, though. Let us get beer, please.
We are taking a break.
So
and then I'm going to have some
us.
positive things to say about the Buffalo Bills next year. Okay. So you guys better be ready to accept with that. So Frank, take this over.
Who was Old Man River that was just creeping over there?
The Anchor Bar, new location in Williamsville or Lancaster. I'm not sure exactly where we are. We're not too far from Russell's and Salvatore's, but we're in the old what's this place?
Bob Evans.
Old Bob Evans,
just like Bob Evans.
It does look like Bob Evans.
Kids eat free and they get $4 margaritas. I don't think I read that right, but that's what it says. These specials. Kids eat free and they get $4 margaritas.
Yeah, buddy.
So I'm bringing Michael tomorrow. Tuesdays, wings and whack for $11.99. Wednesdays are $5 wine glasses. Thursday, large pizza and 20 wings, $4 craft beers. How does that sound, Woodcock brother? $4 IPAs.
Yeah.
It's probably crappy IPAs.
Come to Woodcock Brothers. They have some great beer.
$4 craft beers here. $5 fried pickles on Friday. How can you go wrong? It's Sunday, so we get $12 large pizzas and $4 Bloody Marys. We're just finding this out now.
I love it.
I read that earlier. But anyways, we'll be back in just a few moments on the From300level.com podcast. More Sabres and Bill Stock coming up in a moment. $12 large pizza. We're going to be going live in just a few moments, folks. Bear with us. 300 Level Podcast will be back in just a few moments.
Oh, I hear us coming on, and I'm watching us.
Hello, check 1, 2, testing.
And it sounds like both of you guys just decided to just start everything.
Oh, sorry, we're live?
Oh, yeah. I guess we are, guys.
All right.
But
that's yours.
Took a little break, got some beers in us, and now we're going to return to talking some Buffalo sports. And this time we're going to talk about the much improved Buffalo Bills, to which gets a groan from some of the other people here. But Aiden, we could talk about this a little bit later. I think the Bills are going in the right direction. I am excited with what they decided to do in free agency. I like the fact that they got a starting center, Mitch Morse, who can basically be that signal caller for the offensive line. They added a couple wide receivers. I don't think they're great by any means, but I think it adds enough depth to where opposing defenses can't target just one or two players on the receiving core. I like some of the offensive linemen that they brought in, adding depth. And honestly, with the draft coming up, if they can add a solid tight end and maybe another solid lineman, I think you have a team that's looking at 8-8 next year. I know that's not going to get any excitement here, but they're moving in the right direction, in my opinion. So with that said, I'm going to toss it to you guys. How do you guys feel about the offseason so far, and how do you guys feel about the Bills in the direction they're going into heading into the draft?
Yep, let's do this.
Can I make one comment and you can bounce off it?
No.
I'm going to say one statement. I would – yeah, I'll let you go. So I would take the Beasley, the Croft, and the John Brown signings, get rid of all of them, and if we could have just signed one number one wide receiver – no, take those three and just get one number one wide receiver signed, and I would have been much happier.
Easier said than done.
I totally disagree with everything.
Way easier said than done.
And we're done. And we're done. On to go ahead. Take care of it.
Let's just listen to Aiden.
Their offensive line signings were awesome. So I would say overall, they made a lot of signings that freed them up to go DPA in the draft. Best player available. They don't have a glaring.
It's just
shove it in there.
I think I sound first.
Oh, it's just probably the mic. It's all good.
Best player available. They don't have any glaring holes other than defensive end.
Oh, we gotta get the stats.
Oh my
we gotta get the
God.
stats. Jeez,
By the
come
way, regarding defensive ends, Shaq Lawson, his contract option has not been exercised yet, and Jerry Hughes is going into the last year of his contract.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Oh, we're gonna yell.
Forget about the offensive line they just had last year.
We did.
That's gone.
Totally different offensive line. Yes. Now make it.
Yep.
The offensive line is much improved. Acknowledged 100%. Mitch Morris, they identified their guy. They went out and got him first, right? Most people were talking about Matt Paradis as number one overall.
They stole him.
Bills bypassed that, went right to Mitch Morris.
Yep, they stole him.
Good move. All the other offensive linemen, good move. They gave themselves a lot of flexibility, low term, low money. Sweet. Wide receiver.
Yo, don't act like you're just about to like.
John Brown and Cole Beasley are wide receiver 3 and wide receiver 4. We're in a good place. That's a good place to be in. I don't hate the players. I don't hate the contracts. I don't hate the term. There's a lot of flexibility for them to get out of these moves later. They're not full-term contracts. John Brown is going to be 29 years old at the start of the season. Cole Beasley is going to be 30 years old at the start of the season. Neither of them have really produced at any point in their career.
John Brown's had 1,000-yard
season. Just one.
He was on pace.
Larry Fitz had to get injured for that to happen.
Larry Fitz missed that season, and
John Brown was on pace for over 1,000 last year before Flacco was replaced by Lamar Jackson. He was on pace for over 1,000 last year before Lamar Jackson became the starting quarterback. That's a huge fact that you have to put in. I don't mean to cut you off, but there's two ways of looking at receiving corps. You can either have the number one and the depth behind it. The Bills are who's the number one in New England? Edelman?
We're gonna compare the two.
No. What I'm trying to tell you is if the Bills run,
by the way,
just let me. If the Bills are going to have a 4 wideout formation, having one dominant number one and then having 3 guys behind him that stink is not going to help you out because they're going to blanket the number one, and then you have 3 guys that don't even matter that are going to struggle to get open.
It doesn't matter if you're good.
It does matter.
If you're good, you can't cover them.
If you have 4 talented receivers, which is what they have, you can have the chances are somebody is going to be open on any given play. They have talent.
I was gonna say I'd rather have
a single read number one receiver.
Too early to tell on Josh Allen. We don't know what he is at this point.
I'd rather have 2. Well, give me an A and a B+ receiver compared to 5 C's.
No, see, this is where we all agree. This is where we all.
Agree that they're all average.
No, this is where we all disagree because here's the problem. Here's the reason why I think differently of the wide receivers than what you guys think of the receivers. I think Robert Foster is being groomed to eventually be a number one in the NFL.
You're still on Robert Foster. Wait. We went through this last podcast.
No, just to preface that, I'm sorry.
Read Nate Geary. Nate Geary said the same thing.
Are you satisfied with our receivers?
Right now, I think they're an average receiving corps. What I'm saying is...
I think they're below average at best.
You have a slot... Okay, so last year, they were awful. Let's just be real. They were awful. If you have... we know they don't have a number one, but you have to stop looking at it as they don't have a number one. They have guys that could be solid twos. Robert Foster could be a solid two. Zay Jones could be a solid two. John Brown could be a solid two. Cole Beasley fits the slot role. And then sucks. And then the guy from the CFL, we have no clue what his upside is because he played in the CFL.
Oh, yeah.
What I'm saying, though, is when you look at a receiving core, normally you like to have a solid one. We admit they don't have that right now. But then you want to have a speed guy. They have 2 speed guys right now on their team, and Robert Foster, and then you have John Brown. You normally want a slot guy. You have the slot guy in Cole Beasley. Then you want a big guy that can go up and catch tough passes. You have that potentially in the guy from the CFL. If you watch his highlights, I don't even know his name.
Does anybody know his name?
It's Shaq,
that just tells you how good he is.
But the point is, we keep looking at it from a name basis and trying to slot them in certain things. If you look at it from what a wide receiver is supposed to do in the NFL and what the different types of wide receivers are in the NFL, they have 3 of those 4 needs already taken care of. That is not a bad receiving core. The problem is we're fixated on the names and what the money is and where they're going to be as a number 1, 2, 3, 4. That doesn't matter. The number 1, 2, 3, 4 is not relevant to anything in football. You have different positions inside of a position, and the Bills just filled 3 of those spots. How is that bad? And you still have a guy that you think you can groom down the line.
Beasley is going to be 30 years old to start the season. At no point in his career has he eclipsed 800 receiving yards.
He's a slot guy. He's not a star.
His greatest ability. He's played 16 games almost every single year.
Edelman's basically a slot guy, and so was Wes Welker. They both have, yeah, exactly. Well, I'm just saying, you're saying that slot guys.
There's some slot guys that have.
No, I have no problem with
slot
guys.
What I'm saying is you got to look at what the Bills' offense was and what they're trying to turn into. If you're looking at the Bills' offense as an offense that's only going to have 2 wideouts or 3 wide.
I'm sorry. What they're trying to turn into. In your opinion, what are they trying to turn into?
I think they're trying to go a lot more shotgun, a lot more spread. I think that's what they're going to do. What I'm saying is last year, when you saw the last couple years when we saw the Bills, they ran the ball a lot more. They tried to move the clock because they wanted to keep low-scoring games, let their defense keep them in games. Honestly, towards the end of last season, with Robert Foster, Zay Jones, and that garbage group of wide receivers, they started passing the ball more towards the end of the year.
You're saying they were successful running it?
No, I'm saying that's what they did.
Josh Allen was successful running it. The team was not successful running it.
No, I'm saying they started getting successful on offense, passing the ball towards the end of last season. Nate Geary broke it down in an article on WGR 550. The whole time, we've always talked about how Josh Allen is a more pro-ready quarterback because he ran a pro-style offense at Wyoming. Nate Geary broke down when the Bills started implementing more college schemes and more of spread attacks and air raid formations, that Josh Allen actually was accurate on a higher percentage of his passes, and actually he had close to 75% of catchable balls on a certain amount of passes down the field. That would show that the Bills picked up these 2 wide receivers because they were trying to change what their offense is going to be this year compared to what it is in the past. And if you look at what they're trying to build their offense around, they got players, the only players that were available in that type of way that could go fit their needs. Honestly,
who are you?
Who? They might be older.
Are you?
Just let Frank talk.
Like this work ethic that they have, and they may. You don't know what they're going to do with the draft. They might draft a younger Cole Beasley. They may draft a younger version of him that he can get ready for the season and work his way in. We're not married to these guys for 5-10 years here. We've only got a 10-year deal.
That's my point.
No, that's
one of these free agents is here when our Super Bowl.
I was going to say, are you done?
We keep talking Super Bowl like things happen in 1 year. You're not going to just.
They do.
Once Josh Allen gets paid, our Super Bowl window is closed.
Are you done looking for receivers then?
No, you're never done. You're always willing to get better.
Okay, I was just checking. Do you want to draft the receiver at number 9?
Not at 9. I think you get a tight end. I would like honestly. I would like one of the tight ends from Iowa
at 9.
If they could somehow trade down a little bit, not too far, and get Hawkinson. They're saying I believe his last name is Hawkinson.
TJ Hawkinson.
They're saying he might be one of the best tight end prospects of the last decade.
O.J. Howard was last year.
Meaning he's a run blocker and he's a pass blocker.
Yeah.
He can fit. He's a 3-down tight end, and he's a guy that can do it all. They're actually saying he might go in the top 10 of this draft. And McDermott has already been quoted saying that he has seen firsthand in Carolina how valuable a tight end can be
with Greg Olsen.
With Greg Olsen.
Yeah.
Honestly, if you look at the Bills' offense, I know Shady McCoy is old. I know that Frank Gore is old. And I know the receivers are older. But they do have talent at those positions. Granted, long-term, we know there's going to need to be a younger running back that's going to take over. We know they're going to have to get younger receivers. They're going to have to take over. But if you look at what they're building for this year and next year, if you got a tight – that's what I said 8-8 this year anyway. But if you got a good tight end that could be a red zone threat as well, you could maybe turn that to 9-7 this year. And I'll be honest, the years after, they have right now over $110 million in salary cap room for next year alone. These deals that they signed, Cole Beasley and John Brown, they can easily get out of stuff like that. There's no reason to say that if the Bills want to go ham next year in free agency, that they can't get almost any player that they want. And to be honest, if the direction that they're going and the decisions that they're making, I honestly think the Bills are closer to being a playoff team than they are to being a crap team.
I have one question. Who wrote the article on WGR?
I believe Nate Gary.
Name drop.
Name drop. Okay, so they've made a lot of moves on the offense.
They might not be done
Are you
yet.
expecting them to go more offense in the draft or more defense? Are you? We expect them to go 8-8.
Yes,
like every year. Yes.
At number 9,
I almost did it.
Number 9 is BPA.
How do we get to 10 wins this year?
How do you get to 10?
You'll be able to pass the ball.
If to get to 10 wins this year, I think you need one of those top
tight ends. Yep.
You need one of the tight ends, and then I think, I still think you can draft a wide receiver in the second round, and I still think you can draft a running back in the third round.
Whoa, that's a whole other subject. I have to start that right now.
Let's be real; they're going to draft a running back most likely.
Oh, God, no! You do not draft running backs ever.
They might draft one in the 4th or 5th round. Look at who's the depth behind.
I want them. Here's my thing, and I've said this for a couple of years now. I want them to bring in 10 to 15 undrafted running backs because there's always one every single year
hand in the ball.
Out. There was
hand in the ball.
I can't go on my late breaking news.
What's that?
Who'd we sign? Trent Richardson.
WHL has ceased operations. Canadian Women's Hockey League has ceased operations. Back to your Buffalo Bills program.
What? Why'd they do that?
I was actually seeing that earlier on Twitter.
Yeah?
Yeah, there's players tweeting about that earlier today.
So they're all coming to the National Women. Is that what it's called? The National Women's Hockey League?
The NWHL,
yeah.
What? Well, there's rumors. I don't know if it was official, but
that's crazy.
I'll let you.
Seriously, that's pretty awesome.
We'll see.
I like that a lot.
They wanted to merge.
They should have.
Well, maybe now they can. So
yeah, they should have.
No, but
so,
seriously.
Okay, so we're not satisfied on offense. We need at least a tight end. I would say at least a bona fide receiver that can help out the other 3 receivers that are on the field and say, hey, you guys got one-on-one coverage.
I'm not against getting a wide receiver. And to be honest, if you look at what the Bills are doing, it looks very similar to what the Chicago Bears did.
It kind of looks like
they drafted Trubisky at number 3. That year they didn't.
People keep saying that.
No, but
Allen Robinson, bona fide number 1 wide receiver.
Yeah. You have to. Okay, you're kind of overreaching right there. To be honest,
he had 1,400 yards and 14 touchdowns 1 year.
With Blake Bortles throwing it to him too.
Did you see how much Blake Bortles had 35 touchdowns 1 year? But it's because they were trailing every game by 20 points.
Exactly.
So they passed the ball 50 times. Don't tell me that Allen Robinson is worlds better than anybody else.
He's better than anything we've got.
Allen Robinson in his career had
fantasy.
Okay. Let's be real. Allen Robinson, this is his career years. This is his entire career. 48 receptions, 548 yards, 2 touchdowns. Then 80 receptions, 1,400 yards, 14 touchdowns. Then went to 73 receptions, 883. Then had 55 last year for 754. The guy averages 800 yards per year. That is not a bona fide number 1.
With Blake Bortles.
Yeah, who had a lot of passing yards because he passed the ball a ton. No, I'm saying he had a great year. What I'm saying is we just talked about John Brown and how he had a 1,000-yard season. That didn't matter.
No, it doesn't.
But so then if you can easily do the same.
It means nothing.
All I will say is this. If you look at the Bills right now, they clearly had the Bears model worked because they drafted Trubisky at number 2 overall. They traded up from 3 to 2. And I was in Fort Wayne. We talked about the Bears all the time because 35% of the people in Fort Wayne are Bears fans.
Name drop.
How's that name drop? I didn't name anybody. No.
Fort Wayne, Indiana.
I love Fort Wayne, Indiana.
I know,
The
right?
Summit City, the 260.
Would you say that the way that they've gone this offseason that they're going to go more defense heavy in the draft then?
No, I don't think that's a guarantee at all. No. Here's what I think at 9 it's BPA. Best player available. I think if it's Ed Oliver, I think they'll take Ed Oliver. But if it's a tight end, they'll take tight end. If it's a wideout, they could go wideout. Or
do we think that they're gonna trade? Yeah, you look at the list. Do you think we're gonna trade down?
They could.
They could.
Well, yes, they could. Do we think that they're going to?
I think they stay at
honestly
9.
No.
I think they stay at 9 and just take whoever.
There's two positives of taking T.J. Hawkinson at 9 overall. One, you keep him away from the Patriots and don't allow them to get a replacement.
Well, the Patriots are 32. That's why I'm saying we gotta get ahead of the Patriots to draft. But 9 is not the answer.
Number 2, have the Bills ever had an elite tight end? No, never had one.
We've never.
Hawkinson has the potential to be very good.
Why?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't? Why? Okay, let's be real.
Tight ends just came around. Like
why wouldn't you
10 years ago?
Why wouldn't you want a two-way tight end that could catch 60+ passes a year?
I don't want
I don't want it at 9.
DK Metcalf could be Calvin Johnson.
But you don't know if he's going to be Calvin Johnson.
I don't know about the tight end. Tight ends take longer to develop too.
Yeah.
Just like receivers, they take about 3 years to develop.
The issue. Why? This is why they're not going to take a tight end at 9. They just spent over $16 million on a pair of 2 wide receivers. They're not going to draft a wideout at 9.
Both of whom are going to be cut next year.
No, Kansas City destroyed teams because Travis Kelce's good. He's just as good, if not better, than every other wide receiver. Right.
That's right. Behind Tyreek Hill, my number 1 dynasty fantasy player.
They could honestly, if the Bills don't, the Bills are more. Honestly, the Bills could still go O tackle. They could honestly, Jawan Taylor or Jonah Williams might be their top 2 picks. Like
I'm okay with that.
I mean, that could be the guys that they go after. Honestly, if they don't. I'll just give you a list of 5 players that they'll probably consider. It's going to either be Jawan Taylor, Jonah Williams, Hawkinson, Oliver, put Metcalf in just as an outsider, and then any of the other D tackles that are in the top 5.
I've heard Rashawn Gary from Michigan can be
so
there too.
Those are literally the 5 to 6 players that they could draft. Nobody else outside of that can't even talk right now. I'm coughing.
I have a list of players here of wide receivers that have been on the Buffalo Bills since 2017.
That's only 2 years.
This is not a complete list, but this is all the wide receivers that have come through town. Andre Holmes, Brandon Riley, Kalen Clay, Kelvin Benjamin, Philly Brown, Walt Powell, Malachi Dupree, Rod Streeter, Anquan Bolden, Jordan Matthews, Brandon Tate, Marcus Easley, Cam Phillips, Terrell Pryor, Corey Coleman, Jeremy Curley.
Name drops.
To then be followed by
Name drop.
John Brown.
Name drop.
This team has not addressed wide receiver.
Since Sammy left.
They literally just did address wide receiver.
With an elite playmaker on the outside.
You're totally
there's nothing elite on our offense.
Odell Beckham was traded for the 17th overall pick, while the Buffalo Bills held number 9.
Whoa, they also got one of the greatest safeties in Michigan history.
Okay, do you know why Odell Beckham Jr. went to the Browns? He's best friends with Jarvis Landry. He wanted to play with his LSU teammate.
Yeah,
the Giants wide receivers coach at LSU.
Beckham would never have gone to Buffalo.
So
did
he have a no trade clause?
No. See, this is the problem.
Did he have a no trade clause in his contract?
He could have easily said, "I'm not going to Buffalo," and never showed up. John Elway was drafted number 1 by the Baltimore Colts. You never hear about the Baltimore Colts because John Elway literally said to the Colts, "I'm never going to show up to practice."
Okay.
Eli Manning did the same thing with the Chargers.
I don't want to be mean, but like some of this thinking is irrational. It doesn't make sense. And to say that they're not addressing it is just you're saying they're not addressing it because you don't like the moves, but they did address it. To say that just because you don't like the moves doesn't mean they're not addressing it.
Loud noises.
The truth is you don't like you don't. If they see this goes back to what I was saying earlier about the
top talent.
If they believe that Robert Foster has the potential to groom into a number 1,
they should have drafted him.
This is the Peterman conversation. This is the Peterman conversation.
You're throwing trash at me though. The guy was
no, Peterman sucks. What are we going to
Peterman was drafted.
No. Oh no, Robert Foster an undrafted.
Here's the thing: you're talking as a fan. You're not talking as an organization. You're talking as a fan because what the issue is, you don't know what the organization is thinking. I don't know what the organization is thinking. But if they have plans to groom Foster as a number 1, and they want Zay as a 2, and they like John Brown, and they like Cole Beasley, but the problem. There's a lot that goes into it. There's a lot of players that have been okay. So Jason Peters was an undrafted free agent who ended up now becoming a future Hall of Fame tackle. So because he wasn't drafted in the 7th round, some team obviously didn't have plans for him to turn into something. That's a garbage argument. No offense. That's the type of thinking
Damn,
that
he called you garbage.
like that's
I call him garbage.
no,
all the
I don't
time.
want to. I don't want to be mean.
No,
but
be mean. He's
but you're
garbage.
thinking.
No, he is.
You're thinking as a fan that doesn't have the foresight to actually think about what the organization is thinking.
He called you garbage. What
Man,
did
he called you a fan. I would take more hurt to being called a
Oh.
fan than garbage.
There's a lot that goes into this. You cannot tell me
that knows John Brown and Cole Beasley does not address my team's needs.
But how? But you haven't once said how it doesn't.
But
That's your opinion.
Sure, your opinion right now. And you may be
I also
right.
have years of body of work for both of them.
Bam. Got it.
Well, I mean,
If they're quarterbacks.
I got you, but I've been a season ticket holder since 1985. Been watching the Bills religiously since 19.
Hope he's playing the I know more than you because I'm older card.
That's what I heard.
We don't know that.
We just don't. We have no idea. But
We don't even know if Sam Darnold's going to work out. We don't know if Baker Mayfield's going to turn into something great. They're all.
Baker
It's
Mayfield broke the rookie touchdown passing record with 2 fewer games because that team insisted on playing Tyrod.
I was gonna say we know Darnold's a bust too.
see. Here's my problem. This is my only issue. This is my issue right now. You're saying certain things are. You're saying some of your opinions are certainties, and then you're saying other things are not certainties. Those are all your opinions. Just because you think something doesn't make it true, doesn't make it not true. It's your thought process, and you're putting your thoughts on the Bills, and I get it. That's what this is all about. We're all just tossing things against the wall, and we hope that we're right. But you got to think of what the team is thinking. The team thinks that Cole Beasley is going to fill their slot position. The team thinks that John Brown is going to be their deep threat. If you look at his speed, John Brown is a deep threat. If you look at what I'm saying, though, is they obviously – okay, we'll just put it at this. You have the right to your opinion, but if you were talking to Sean McDermott and Brandon Bain right now, they would probably think you're an idiot because they don't – I'm just saying, like –
You sounded so Tucker Carlson, Fox News right there. Oh, my God.
Cole Beasley showed up. He probably wasn't the top guy, but he showed up on the radar as a potential free agent, and they got him. And they're going to do what they can to put him in a position to succeed, just like they're doing with Josh Allen. They're putting him in a position to succeed.
I was going to say, that's the thing. Do we think that they can do that?
Yeah, and Frank, I'm with you. And here's the problem. So the Bills are just going to get Odell Beckham. You're not. See, this is the problem. You're not giving realistic alternative. You're not giving realistic alternatives. You would have
laughed me off if I said Odell Beckham was going to trade that.
No offense, Aiden. You're throwing garbage. You're literally throwing garbage. Like this isn't even a good conversation anymore because you're literally. No, you're literally saying Antonio Brown or Odell Beckham. Or no one else. You have to deal with what is a realistic option. They were not going to get those players. And right now, because Odell Beckham Jr. went to Cleveland, which was actually been rumored for probably the last 6 months, during the season. Yes, I've lived in Ohio for over 5 years. It's been rumored for almost half a year.
Oh, I didn't know that.
He wanted to go to Cleveland. He literally is best friends with Jarvis Landry because they played with each other at LSU. That was what facilitated the trade. Did you know that Jarvis – okay, just wait. When Jarvis Landry ended up signing an extension with the Cleveland Browns, one of the first players he reached out to was Odell Beckham Jr., saying, you should join us in Cleveland. Let's be – no, because he's been talking to him the whole time. This has been all part of
Wait, what's going on right now?
Frank, take over.
Well,
Frank.
still, like,
Save me,
Odell's got no say in where he goes.
Guys, let Frank take over.
We're going to be bringing in a special guest on the podcast. It's kind of a referee. We need him right now. But we've got Pancho Villa calling us from Texas. Pancho, you're joining from the 300 Level podcast right now. You got Michael Blunt, Tony Fiorello, a guy named Nads.
I'll call myself Matt Gordon.
We've been going at each other tooth and nail. We're talking about the off-season moves that the Buffalo Bills made. Maybe you could shed some positive light or maybe some good thoughts. We can use them right now. And by the way, we're at Anchor Bar, the new location in Williamsville, and none of us has had a wing yet. We've been here for 2 hours, so I'm done.
That's okay.
Thank God.
I'll live.
Pancho, the Bills off-season, how would you categorize it so far, just before we head into the draft season? Where are you with the Bills right now? Actually, you know what? Forget that. How do you feel right now? You've been going through a lot. Bring us up to date on your stand.
Yeah. First of all, thanks for having me, guys. I really appreciate it. Love talking to everybody, in the 716. So really appreciate it. But my health is I have a lot more ups and downs days. Right now the worst one is I get shortness of breath real bad, and talk to the doctor about that tomorrow. I'm actually getting ready to head out to Houston and do some lab work and see the doctors tomorrow. But every day, guys, I have a constant pain of about anywhere from 2 to 5 level throughout my body. I'm on a lot of medication, and I'm just fighting it and doing what I gotta do what the doctors say. But living life every day.
Hell yeah.
But I woke up today, so it's a blessed day, and I'm happy for it.
Well, man.
But yeah, it's go ahead.
We're just excited to have you on with us today, Pancho. And your story is one that I'm hoping to send something down there to it. I think we talked about this a little bit about maybe even doing a documentary on what you've been going through and how much you mean to not just your family and all, but the Bills organization, the fans, the mafia, and everything you've done for them. We'd like to get you on board sooner or later and produce a podcast on 300 Level Media. So that is in the works. We've had initial discussions on that, but we haven't got too far. But something that's long overdue. Well.
So, Pancho, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
So, obviously, the Bills' offseason, it's been an active one so far. As Frank was telling you, we've had a lot of debate on whether the moves were good or bad. I'm a believer that the Bills are moving in the right direction. Some of my counterparts, they don't agree with me. They don't like the wide receiver additions. Where do you stand with what the Bills have done this offseason, and do you think they'll take a step forward in 2019?
I love what they've done this offseason, especially, you guys know I live in Texas, in Dallas country, and I hated Cole Beasley. I hated the guy as a player because he was so good with the Dallas Cowboys. And when we got him, it's like I just, we became best friends all of a sudden. I was like, man, this dude's on our team now. I love him now because he was so good with the Dallas Cowboys. And, now for him to be a target for Josh, and I think that's just great, man. And then, we picked up some great offensive linemen. You know what? And I'm sure you guys have seen on social media what Josh Allen did as soon as free agency started. He called all these people that we were picking up. I would have probably been the second person to do it if I had the connections to get their phone numbers. Welcome to Buffalo. Because if Josh is excited and he's happy and he's being that type of a leader, think of just what those free agent signings have already done for Josh. They've already, given him that extra boost to be a captain, to lead the team. Nobody expected to hear that Josh called all these guys. I didn't. And when Bean came out saying, Josh was the first one to get all these numbers and call everybody and welcome them, that just boosted his morale. And I think that's what's been the most important thing of all these signings that we've done, is that Josh is excited to come back. He's excited for his second year. Man, I just can't wait, to see how it all unfolds come September.
Now, Pancho, another question for you. I know for a lot of Bills fans, you really jumped into the spotlight when you announced the one draft pick last year. You really kind of became a celebrity of sort amongst Bills fans. How have you enjoyed that recognition, and how has your life changed, I guess, since making that pick and really becoming one of the more known Bills fans out there in Bills Mafia?
Right. That was, the moment, and as the draft is getting closer, I start reminiscing even more about, that day and that night, how it all went down. And guys, I look at it every night before I go to sleep on my Twitter feed. I have that video pinned on my account, and it still gives me chills. I get chills just thinking about it. But what the Bills Mafia has done, and they've accepted me for who I am. It just means so much. I'm not the celebrity here. Bills Mafia is a celebrity.
Yeah.
I'm part of a group called Bills Mafia, and whether people label me as the face of Bills Mafia or the most popular Bills fan, there's tons of other fans that deserve that recognition as well deserving of it, and I respect them so much for it. And a lot of those guys, I was under their wing to being Pancho Villa, and they helped me out on what it takes to be a super fan, and how to take on the media and things like that. So I mean, I owe it all to Bills Mafia. I really do. The Bills organization, they've been great to me. It's a lot of people think that the Bills send me to these games and they pay for my tickets, they pay for my flights and all this. No, it doesn't happen like that. I mean, everything I do is out of pocket. Even with my illness, I'm still working when I can. So, it has nothing to do with the Bills. But what they've done is the Bills have proven that they care about the fans, and whether they use me or not, I'm okay with it. But they really do care about the fans and the organization, as far as us being a part of decision making. Even just like the stadium, they sent out that recent survey. I mean, they're really getting us involved, and I think that's great. But yes, sir.
Pancho, we've talked about how Buffalo's added to the weapons that they've gotten for Josh Allen this offseason. They brought in Cole Beasley, they brought in John Brown, and they've upgraded the offensive line, pretty significantly this offseason. But I think some people get the feeling.
I can barely hear you.
Sorry, we just need a Frank to turn the mic up here. Anyway, we've talked about how Buffalo's added to the weapons that Josh Allen could possibly have this year. Cole Beasley, John Brown. They've upgraded the offensive line significantly. They've also brought in Tyler Kroft to play tight end. But one gets the feeling that maybe they're not done adding to the weapons that they have for Allen. Who do you think that Buffalo could possibly bring in to at 9th overall to help this team?
Are you asking what else do I think that the Bills need to do to add?
Yeah, just your opinion.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because I could barely hear you.
Yeah. Sorry.
Gosh, we're pretty. I mean, the way I feel, I think we're pretty stacked already. Going into this draft, I don't know. It could be a surprise as far as who we even take or what we do, because we filled a bunch of holes already with that free agency. Me personally, you take the best player on the board. It doesn't matter the position. That's what I think they should do to help improve the team. We're if I were to say anything, I think Lorenzo's coming out on his last year. Maybe another linebacker. So that he can at least have 1 year with Lorenzo. Get that veteran, leadership under him. But that's what I would aim for, is another linebacker, work on the defense a little bit. Even though our defense is already stout, I think we're good on defense. And, our offense, I mean, we just, we picked up all these receivers, a lot of weapons, offensive line. I think Shady's got about another 1 or 2 years in him. It wouldn't hurt to pick up another running back. So again, they can learn, right behind Shady, another veteran. But that's what I think we should do, just to better the team, especially coming up into the draft.
Well, hey, Pancho, I like those ideas as well. With the Frank Gore addition, having another veteran running back who's obviously doesn't have a lot left in the tank, but if he can get the next running back into the same form, the same mental capacity, and things of that nature, that might be a real boost for the Bills. But I like the moves thus far. I'm very excited to see what they do in the draft and through the rest of the offseason here. But, man, I want to tell you, we're all thinking about you down here. We pray for you every day. And hopefully one day, next time you're up in the Buffalo, let us know. And 300 level, we'll definitely like to host you and maybe grab some of these chicken wings. We're at the Anchor Bar. We've been here for 2.5 hours, I think, and we haven't had one single wing yet. Not to mention there's snow on the ground. Dude, I'm not even kidding you. It's almost April 1st. I saw that. This isn't a joke. There is snow on the ground today. But, Pancho, we're going to let you go, man, because I got to order some wings.
All right. Hey, have some for me, man. Really, have some for me because I miss Buffalo. I miss the city. I miss the food out there. I miss the people. I mean, I just miss the whole atmosphere up there in the 716. And I have so much love and respect for the city and for, everybody up there. I love it. Once I'm cured and I retire, I'm going to have a second home up there one day.
Yeah. We're looking forward to it. So thank you very much, Pancho Villa, for joining us on the From the 300 Level podcast. We're going to let him go. And, guys, we don't have a whole lot of time. The manager here said if we don't order some wings in the next 20 minutes, he's going to kick us out of here. But, we had a very lively discussion today that should continue at some point. But Mike Bunt, excellent job running the show today. Tony Farrell didn't say as much as he normally does. You have to look for his next article on 300level.com. For Nads and Matt Gordon, then Aiden Cummins, the brand new guy in here who's definitely ready to go. He had a pretty good opening. I don't know.
Can't wait for next time.
Good.
Rookie, you hear that?
Rookie. Well, I mean, it's your first time here.
It is.
You got to earn your stripes.
I mean, you're not an 18-year-old rookie. Shut up.
You're like a 6th-round draft pick.
God awful.
What are you gonna do?
You're god awful.
You're 6th round.
You guys joining us today on 300
Should have been drafted undrafted.
We'll have more events like this coming up from different establishments. Supposedly you're supposed to go to a place called Woodcock Brothers. I guess we know the owner and head beer master there, so we're going to try and fit our crew into there. Bison's home opener is Thursday against Scranton Wilkes-Barre. It's a 2 p.m. first pitch. We'll be out there for that. But Tuesday, Niagara University is going to introduce the brand new basketball coach. Patrick Beeline will be there at 11 a.m. And we'll have someone from the 300 level on scene for that. So stay in touch. But for Mike and Nads, Tony, Matt, and Aaron, Aiden, I am Frank Wolf. We're going to end the stream. We'll see you in a few weeks. Follow us on the web, From the 300 Level, and on Twitter, @From the 300 Level. See you soon. Go Bills. Go Sabres.
Yeah.